Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, the series starts with the kingdoms of Rofei, Paradil, Cansheep, Shoots, Sites and Missian all being absorbed by the kingdom of Ansel, ultimately making the land the Empire of Summerfirth. In the year 212, a boy calls out to his younger brother and sister, Cries and Ren, asking them to say a final goodbye to their father, watching as their father is finally put to rest. Revealed to be Lord Ars, Ars sheds a tear, all whilst placing a flower on the burial as a final goodbye, turning to face the crowd, only to declare that he'll be in charge of the Leuven house moving forward. Flashing back, we see an everyday business worker working his boring 9-to-5, getting ready for work one day, only to suffer a heart attack. Upon waking up, our MC is confused to see a lady admiring his looks, confused as to where he is. Spotting a flying dog, our MC learns the lady is his mother, spotting his child like a reflection in a metal tray. With the year being 200, our MC Ars Leuven was born in Lamberg within the kingdom of Missian. As 3 years pass by, a maid brings Ars some tea. Shocked to see the 3-year-old Ars is already capable of reading and writing. Ars narrates how he has a general idea of the overall Summerfirth's empire structure, noting how it's quite different to Earth. With the world being filled with magic, Ars reveals that his Leuven family is a noble household, owners of various houses within the land of Lamberg. As Ars walks around his mansion, Ars is grateful to have so many maids and cooks serve them, revealing that he has a skill that no one else has. With Ars sitting in on the house's nights sparring, Ars spots 2 men dueling, using his secret appraisal skill on Malay Crystal, noting how Milias would be better off wielding a bow. Seeing Malay unable to keep up with his training partner, Ars asks if Milias has ever wielded a bow. But Milias states that it's not manly to fight from afar. Using his adorable looks, Ars convinces Milias to give the bow a go, but upon drawing the bow for the first time, Milias is able to flawlessly hit the center of his targets. With the other knights praising Milias for his newfound talent, the knights wonder how Ars knew Milias would be good with a bow. But Ars is forced to lie, knowing that his skill is too rare to reveal, sad that he can't appraise his own skills. That night as Ars joins his family for dinner, Ars' father, Raven Leuven, praises Ars for discovering Milias' bow skills, prompting Ars to scan his father's stats. Amazed that his father is capable of defeating 10 men at once with his martial arts skills coupled with his outrageous prowess stat. Getting serious, Raven tells Ars that he wants Ars to continue training this instinct of his, as one day he'll inherit his father's wealth. With Ars continuing to read up and learn about the Empire, Ars realizes that the whole Empire is corrupt, with peasants beginning to fight back. Luckily, nobles have been able to temporarily keep the peasants busy, but eventually the disorganized Empire will be overrun with war. Fearing the horrors of war, Ars knows that with his appraisal skill, he'll be able to help out the less fortunate, suddenly running off somewhere. As Ars heads through town, Ars is greeted by all the kind villagers, who Ars begins appraising, in hopes of finding someone talented. Sadly, after exhausting his skill, Ars' eyes begin to grow tired, sitting down to rest. Just then, a man is seen being thrown out of a store, deemed Malkans by the villagers, as they are people that swam across the sea to enter the Empire. Knowing that most Malkans end up becoming slaves, Ars gives the man a piece of bread, appraising the man's stats, shocked that Reitz Muses has no flaws in his stats. As Reitz thanks Ars for the food, Reitz attempts to leave, but Ars simply follows Reitz to a nearby alley, asking Reitz to become his retainer. Believing Ars is joking, Reitz is shocked to see Ars offer him such an important job. Reitz wonders how Ars knows so much about a person he's just met. With Ars dancing around the question, Reitz fears that he'll get Ars into trouble, attempting to leave once more, but Ars lures Reitz back in with the promise of rare and delicious meals. As Reitz sits at the same table as Ars is sad to see that the discrimination against Malkans runs deep, as the mansion's maids and chefs refuse to serve Reitz any pleasant meals. Annoyed, Ars moves closer to Reitz, ordering the maids and chefs to treat Reitz with respect, prompting Reitz to begin indulging in the delicious meals. Ars learns that Reitz originally belonged to a group of mercenaries, but sadly most of the members had passed away, and ever since then Reitz didn't have any luck finding any jobs. With one of the butlers asking Reitz to leave, Ars intervenes, stating that he wants Reitz as his retainer, telling Raven about Reitz. Ars' father flat out refuses to allow Reitz to serve Ars, stating that Malkans have never been heard of wielding skills that can rival nor surpass Summerfordians. Sad to see that his father also discriminates against Malkans, Ars asks that his father simply test Reitz, convincing his father to test Reitz himself. Ars' father states that if Reitz passes, Reitz will start off as a soldier for their family, pleasing Ars. But Ars' father coldly declares that he'll be dueling Reitz for their test. Nervous, Ars reveals that Reitz is only 14 years old, compared to his father that has years of combat experience, but Ars' father reassures Reitz that he'll be given a handicap. As Reitz agrees to the duel, they all follow Raven through the mansion, but Reitz asks why Ars is so persistent on his retainer. Upon hearing that Ars doesn't care about Reitz being a Malkan, Reitz is shocked to hear that Ars needs Reitz by his side for the future, promising to do his best. With everyone heading to the training area, several knights help prepare practice swords and an hourglass, only for Raven to announce that Reitz will win if he lands a single blow within the allotted time. With Ars revealing that his father Raven is by far the strongest within their land, Reitz and Raven begin their duel, prompting Raven to dash forward only for Reitz to barely avoid, having sensed Raven's murderous intent. Reitz is amazed at Raven's speed and power, forced to defend each consecutive strike. But at the same time the knights remark how Raven, even when holding back, dominates the knights, but Reitz seems to be holding his own. Sadly at that moment, Reitz is caught off guard, struck to the ground, but seeing Ars still having hope in him, Reitz gets back up, glaring at Raven. Dashing forward, Reitz slips under Raven's initial slash, using a nearby window to temporarily blind Raven, only to cleave his sword at Raven from above. Sadly, Raven is able to flawlessly block the blow, but announces that the duel is over, revealing that Reitz had cut some of Raven's hair. With everyone amazed, Raven promises to recruit Reitz as a knight, amazed that Ars had once again discovered someone very talented. Raven admits that he had feared Ars would have trouble navigating the world, but is excited to see what Ars will become in the future, jokingly suggesting Ars aim for the Emperor. With the existing knights accepting Reitz as their own, we cut to Reitz all suited up, reporting that he has begun taking up chores around the house. Reitz reiterates his gratitude for Ars, promising to spend his life serving Ars. With several months passing by, Reitz is seen helping out across the mansion, helping move things around, continuing to spar with the mansion's knights, and has even begun studying. In no time, Ars had noticed that Reitz's ingenuity had risen to 89, making Reitz loved by everyone in the household within the domain, especially the maids. As Ars and Reitz studies together, Ars recaps that the continent had originally been split into 7 kingdoms, but since the kingdom of Ansel had access to other continents, it eventually overtook the entire continent, hence the birth of the Empire Summerfirth. It's revealed that the king Anathas Bidoras ultimately claimed the throne for the empire, and began his rule 203 years ago. Reitz adds that the Summerfirth Empire is slowly crumbling, as the current sovereign, Bidoras VII, is only 8 years old, and is being influenced by his corrupt retainers. It's due to this corruption that several areas had begun to revolt against the empire, something Ars knows about since his father Raven had to be dispatched to deal with. Fearing that things may escalate, Ars reasons that he needs to gather more powerful and trusted allies quickly. But Ars asks Reitz where he thinks the next revolt may occur. Reitz states that he believes the Mysian province is the most likely location, adding that the current governor, Amador Salamakaya, is old and destined to pass away. Reitz reveals that the governor has 2 sons, but due to their rivalry for the throne, it's inevitable that the sons wage war against one another. Hearing this, Ars gets worried, as his father will have to intervene and pick a side. But Reitz reminds Ars that Raven won't be able to decide for himself which side he should fight for. Ars states that their home of Lamberg resides in the province of Mysian, specifically the Canar district, meaning Raven serves under the Canar headman. Deep in thought, Ars wonders how he can support his father if they are ever put on a losing fight, but just then Reitz gets excited, reminding Ars that this is their perfect chance to show how skilled they both are. With Ars and Reitz heading to town, they run into Ars' father, Raven, amazed that Raven is training harder than ever. When Raven hears that Ars plans to scout more promising recruits, Raven suggests Ars focus on recruiting magic users, which Reitz knows can drastically change the flow of a fight. Ars remembers a time when Raven had gifted him magical artifact, hoping to see Ars' magical capabilities, but was embarrassed to see Ars was non-compatible with magic. With Ars and Reitz heading to town on horseback, They make it to the town of Canare, a location Reitz states houses 50,000 people. Since the town is the capital of Canare, the town houses the Pyers family, the rulers of the Canare district. Glancing around, Ars is amazed at how wealthy everyone looks, declaring that he intends to make the people in his hometown of Lamberg rich as well. With so many people nearby, Ars begins appraising everyone, spotting various skills from various people. Sadly, after some time, Ars takes a break, revealing that although people may have talents for certain skills, if they don't have the necessary aptitudes of said skills, they simply won't be of use. As the two continue their way around town, Ars suddenly stops, spotting various homeless people hidden away within an alley. Upon seeing Ars' terrified expression, Reitz states that where there are wealthy people, there is bound to be unfortunate souls. But before Ars can say anything, Reitz cuts Ars off, reminding Ars that he can't help everyone, not yet at least. Knowing that Reitz is correct, Ars promises to strive for a domain that can welcome anyone no matter their situation, impressing Reitz, but at the same time we see someone listening to their conversation. Finally stumbling onto a market area of town, Ars is completely amazed at the variety of products, drawn towards a stand that sells dragon eggs imported from the northern continent. As Ars dreams of owning a dragon as a pet, Ars rushes to purchase several eggs, but Reitz suddenly pulls out a knife. As Reitz threatens the store owner with a knife, Reitz states that trade with the northern continent was banned recently, deducing that the eggs were possibly smuggled. Plus, real dragon eggs would need high temperatures to hatch, whereas the present ones have fake spots on them, allowing Reitz to conclude that the fake dragon eggs are in fact giant lizard eggs. Seeing the store owner trying to scam his master, Reitz prepares to slay the store owner, but Ars tugs on Reitz's suit, diffusing the situation. Although Ars appreciates Reitz from protecting him, Ars notes how he better learn about these things as well, but they both stop for lunch. As Ars enjoys the variety of foods, he spots a candy store, rushing over to purchase some candy. Just then a person bumps into Ars, using the opportunity to steal Ars' wallet, prompting Reitz and Ars to pursue them. As the thief weaves through the crowd, Reitz, who is carrying Ars, speeds up, managing to grab at the thief's clothes, revealing the thief to be a young disheveled girl. As the girl heads into an alley, Reitz and Ars follow, only to spot the girl being cornered by some men who seemingly knock her to the ground. Annoyed, Ars calls out for the men to stop, prompting the men to attack Ars, but Reitz nonchalantly intercepts the strike. Pissed, Reitz dismantles the three men, scaring them off. Turning to the girl, Ars scans her stats, amazed that the girl is capable of becoming an S-rank mage, already having 65 points in leadership and 116 in prowess. Ars notes how the girl's prowess is on par with his father's, but her other stats are D-rank, meaning anything not involving magic would be a disadvantage for her. As Reitz demands the girl return Ars' wallet, Ars butts in, asking if the girl would like to be his retainer, but the girl scoffs at the idea, shooting down Ars' offer. Ars states that he knows the girl has a talent for magic, but this weirds the girl out, having never used magic before. Ars reiterates that he has an eye for finding talented people, promising to give the girl a life of luxury compared to her current life, but this only annoys the girl. The girl berates Ars for looking down on her, stating that all nobles were simply lucky to be born into wealth, pissed that Ars is acting like a spoiled noble brat. Ars cries that with the girl's help, he can build a town that can house everyone, but hearing Ars' non-realistic dream, the girl calls out Ars for simply pretending to help out people for his own benefit. Having heard enough, Reitz orders the girl to return Ars' wallet again, prompting the girl to do so. Spotting something around the girl's wrist, Ars asks who the men that attacked the girl were, learning that they work with slave traders and the girl had been captured and sold off as a slave. The girl reveals that she had managed to escape, blaming her beauty for the reason the men are hunting her down. But Ars is curious as to why the girl remains in town even after escaping. Just then several kids swarm the little girl, all crying out to Charlotte, prompting Charlotte to reveal that she can't leave these poor hungry orphans behind. Understanding the situation, Ars promises to leave Charlotte alone, but as a goodbye, Ars offers his wallet to Charlotte, who reluctantly accepts. That night, Ars stares out into the night sky, prompting Reitz to reassure Ars that Ars means good and that there is nothing to feel guilty about. Ars admits that he definitely feels powerless and too inexperienced, but just then Ars spots the orphans searching for him, telling Ars that Charlotte had finally been captured. Flashing back, We cut somewhere at night in the town of Canaire, following a young Charlotte grows spiteful of the rich due to her poor circumstance. Even when Charlotte sought help, she was just thrown aside, making her realize people saw her as nothing but trash. Back in the present, her captors toss Charlotte to the ground, beating her up and scolding her for making things so difficult. Seeing this, the boss reminds his gang to not touch Charlotte's face, reiterating that her perverted buyer wants Charlotte's face intact. Just then, one of the captors notices that Charlotte has dropped a fancy-looking wallet, but this aggravates Charlotte as she leaps to take back the wallet. Left wide open, Charlotte's head is slammed to the ground. But sadly, the boss reminds Charlotte that her life is over, as she has nowhere to run to. As the boss begins making fun of Charlotte's pathetic life, we suddenly spot Reitz break through the nearest door, only to follow up by parrying and striking several of the captors down. Running in, Ars checks on Charlotte, immediately scanning the boss's stats, and demanding to know if the boss, Albert Carnier, is a slave trader. With Albert shocked that Ars knows his name, Albert deduces that Ars is a noble, grinning. Ars demands Albert release Charlotte, but Albert reminds Ars that Charlotte is a slave and can't simply be released. But when Charlotte asks Ars to stay out of her business, Ars reveals that Charlotte's eyes look empty. Ars states that Charlotte's ambition stat is at a 1, a stat that defines how much someone believes in themselves to grow. But seeing as Charlotte's is at 1, Ars get pissed, knowing that Charlotte has been living knowing she has no freedom to live. Hearing Ars's words, Charlotte narrates how she can't remember the last time she cried, stating that her life was decided from the day she was born, but in order to survive she needed to ignore her circumstances and steal. With Charlotte finally shedding tears of realization, Albert calls for the remainder of his men, having had enough of Ars interfering. Luckily, Reitz nonchalantly picks one of the men up from their neck, declaring that the men will die tonight. As the men begin surrounding Reitz darts back and forth, evading and slashing the men, but upon spotting several off to the side begin chatting fire spells, Reitz turns his attention to them. With Charlotte shocked at Reitz's abilities, Albert grows more annoyed, calling down his trump card. Marching down the stairs, Albert introduces an ex-military leader, who demands Albert get him more booze. With Charlotte frightened Reitz will lose, Ars scans the military leader's stats, only for Reitz to disappear, reappearing above the officer, following up by knocking out the military leader. With Albert completely defeated, he desperately reminds Ars that slave trading is legal in town, prompting Ars to offer to purchase Charlotte. When Albert stubbornly refuses, Reitz states that they will be taking Charlotte regardless, meaning Ars is being nice and protecting Albert's reputation. Knowing that there is nothing else he can do, Albert accepts, exciting Ars, as he reveals some people are awaiting Charlotte's return. Grateful, Charlotte asks if she can visit somewhere first, taking Ars and Reitz up a steep hill, only to reveal the vast and beautiful scenery. Charlotte states the view is a breath of fresh air and secret spot she keeps to herself, but this makes Ars wonder why Charlotte is willing to share the spot with them. Turning to face Ars, Charlotte asks why Ars wants to build a town of all things, but gets shocked hearing Ars say he likes children. Ars adds on by stating that a children's smile and dreams can reinvigorate any adult, and it's the children's dreams that will ultimately shape and make a better future. By making a town, Ars promises to protect the dreams and future of people less fortunate, declaring that people won't have to suffer like Charlotte. But Ars suddenly realizes that he's rambling on. Impressed, Charlotte agrees to be Ars's retainer, if it means that the children she's been looking after can have a better future as well. Changing topics, Reitz takes out a magical artifact he picked up from the slave captors earlier, stating that he's curious how capable Charlotte is with magic. As Reitz hands Charlotte the artifact and teaches her how to cast a spell, Ars gets excited, wondering how powerful someone with S-rank capabilities is. Now ready, Charlotte raises up her hand, casting a simple fire spell, only for a massive swarm of energy to form around her palm, only to be shot into the air, creating a massive explosion. Having drawn the attention of all the townsfolk, Charlotte's magical artifact is revealed to have been drained of energy, shattering. With Charlotte asking if Ars is impressed, Ars is completely filled with excitement, which Reitz is forced to admit he's amazed as well. Charlotte asks what she gets being Ars' retainer, but upon hearing that she'll get a place to stay, food to eat and a salary, she asks that Ars send all of her pay over to the children's, as she won't be able to take care of them. Completely grateful to Ars, Charlotte gets on one knee, promising to serve Ars for the rest of her life. Shocked at how serious Charlotte is, Ars asks Charlotte to be herself, signaling for Ars and Reitz to begin heading home. Remembering that she took Ars' money, Charlotte apologizes, but Ars tells Charlotte it was his decision, beginning to head down the mountain first. As Charlotte thinks about what Ars's future entails, we cut to Charlotte saying her final goodbye to the children she's been taking care of, all whilst Ars wonders if he can really make a great city. Knowing that he can only take it one step at a time, the three begin riding back, stopping to have a quick snack break where Reitz scolds Charlotte for eating so manically, but Charlotte could care less, taking a quick nap. Upon arriving back home, Raven refuses to accept Charlotte as Ars' retainer, but upon showing off her magic prowess, Raven changes his mind, immediately welcoming Charlotte as Ars' retainer. Check out one of our other videos on the screen or in the info card above. Subscribe, like, and comment.